Today's discussion dives into the policies that claim to support legal immigration,
Exactly.
but in practice seem to be designed to exclude anyone who isn't rich, white, or politically aligned.
Right. And it's fascinating, and frankly, infuriating, when you look at the numbers they throw around. So many measures have been taken that effectively narrow legal immigration channels.
Absolutely. Look, for instance, refugee admissions were slashed from a robust 110,000 down to just 15,000 in 2017, and then they got slashed even further in
Yep.
subsequent years. Even when crises like Syria, Venezuela, or Afghanistan were unfolding.
And that, of course, ties directly to the vision pushed by influential figures like Stephen Miller, who, really seemed to be crafting a fortress America, right?
Exactly. It's like the intent was never really about managing legal immigration at all. It was about engineering a certain demographic.
Exactly.
Think about it. Policies like the Muslim ban under Executive Order 13769 didn't target terrorists. They targeted majority Muslim countries, cutting out not just potential risks, but doctors, students, even military support members.
That executive order, what a tool of exclusion. And it's so pointed that even green card holders got caught up in that mess. The whole thing was less about safety and more about sending a message on whose lives are valued.
Right on. And then there's the matter of family reunification pathways. You'd think that, bringing families together would be a human priority. Yet visas for spouses, children, siblings, especially for folks from Mexico, India, the Philippines, Nigeria, were slowed down to a crawl. It's almost like they wanted to keep those families
exactly.
apart.
It's bizarre how policies that superficially seem to enforce legality actually end up being about exclusion. And then there's the public charge rule, which basically punishes immigrants for using welfare, even though many of them work hard but don't have a financial cushion.
Right, it's like they're punishing people not for breaking laws, but for not being wealthy enough. And this, combined with the steep fee hikes on naturalization and work permits, essentially turns legal immigration into a luxury that only the rich can afford.
Absolutely. And it doesn't stop there. With understaffed embassies and delays stretching years, many legal immigrants find themselves stuck in limbo, some tragically even losing their lives waiting.
Yes, and that's a critical point. It's not just about slowing the process. It's a deliberate act of sabotaging legal immigration routes. When you see backlogs that last for years and whole visa appointment systems gutted, it's a systemic shutdown of what should be accessible options.
Speaking of systemic shutdown, the targeting of military families is another dark chapter. I mean, imagine serving your country and then having your own family face deportation threats. That's, just unthinkable.
Exactly. To cancel services that once helped military families achieve citizenship, it's contradicting every notion of fairness. It's almost like a deliberate message. You're only welcome if you fit a narrow profile.
Indeed. And then there was the whole scandal with the so-called Trump Gold Card in 2025, where fast-track immigration became a product you could essentially buy.
Yeah. It's like, you don't actually have to jump through the hoops if you've got the cash or the political backing. Pay thousands, donate to the right groups, and suddenly your paperwork gets prioritized.
Right, exactly. It really underlines the point that it's no longer about the law at all. It's about whose wallet is fatter and whose political connections are stronger.
For sure. And let's not overlook the blatant preferential treatment shown elsewhere, like the welcoming of white South African farmers, while asylum claims from Syrian children or Guatemalan mothers fleeing cartel violence faced strict rejections. It's a stark, almost theatrical contradiction to the claim, "Come legally."
Absolutely. The selective approach is striking. It's like a double standard. Rigorous barriers for some, and completely relaxed borders for those who fit the preferred mold.
Yeah, it's like saying, you need to be rich, white, or politically useful to come here legally. Instead of focusing on the authenticity of legal process, they're engineering it to work in favor of specific demographics.
Yeah, truly shocking. And what's even more insidious is the rhetoric. The line, "We're not against immigration. We're just against illegal immigration," is used as a moral cover, while in reality, systems are designed to shut out the poor, the brown, and the desperate.
Yes, it's almost like that phrase is a red herring, a PR shield to mask the real intent. By slashing refugee slots, rewriting asylum laws, and delaying legal processing, they're effectively waging a war on legal immigration under a benign-sounding tagline.
Exactly. I have to say, though, isn't there an argument to be made about wanting to protect national security and regulation? Some might claim these measures are about keeping us safe.
That's a common defense, right? But look, when you dig into the details, it seems like a pretext, a justification for policies that frankly are more about exclusion than actual security.
I
And
hear
the
you.
consequence is that legal avenues are suffocated deliberately.
That's true. But I wonder if there's any nuance to it, if there were any legitimate administrative concerns that got exacerbated by poor implementation. What do you think?
Sure, administrative inefficiencies exist in any system, but the scaling down and financial barriers here aren't just bureaucratic mishaps. When you see policies
exactly.
designed to delay and overcharge applicants, it's clearly intentional, not a mere oversight.
And then the narrative hits hard with that tagline. They say, "Come legally," then slam the door shut. It captures the irony perfectly, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's like a big, bold admission of hypocrisy. They demand legal entry on one hand while closing every legitimate channel on the other. It's like telling someone, welcome, but only if you're part of our
Exactly.
in-group.
And it's not just about numbers or policies. It's about human lives. Entire families, asylum seekers fleeing enormous dangers, even military families. They all get swept up in these policies.
I completely agree. Some people literally died waiting because the system was so slow, or they gave up. And that's a human tragedy on a systemic scale.
Right, it's heartbreaking. When you lay it all out, it seems that the rhetoric was more about masking the real intent, which was to create a future where immigration favors a specific privileged group.
Exactly. The policies were less about security and more about crafting a demographic profile. And that stops being just policy when it affects lives and livelihoods in such a stark, ruthless way.
Absolutely. The narrative is almost theatrical. The promise of legal pathways, then wham, door slam shut. And the backlash from affected communities? It fuels further distrust, right?
Right. You get this ripple effect. Citizens losing faith, communities feeling unwelcome in their own country. It's like one of those vicious cycles where every new barrier deepens the divide.
Yeah, definitely. And politically, it sets the stage for further polarization. When policies are so clearly crafted to favor a narrow group, it drives wedges deeper into society.
That's true. And it also undermines the very idea of America as a land of opportunity. Instead, what you get is this engineered environment where legal immigration is a privilege reserved for those already in power
Right,
or
exactly.
with the right resources.
I'm wondering, though, do you see any way out of this cycle? Is reform even feasible given how much money and ideology has been invested in this system?
That's a tough question. There are calls for reform, absolutely, but with so many entrenched interests, political donors, bureaucratic inefficiencies, the path
Exactly.
forward seems, extremely challenging.
It almost seems like, without a radical shift in perspective and policy focus, these engineered disparities will just continue to widen.
That's exactly what it feels like. It's not just a glitch in a system. It's a deliberate setup for a future where only some are allowed full access. And that future is, well,
Absolutely.
deeply troubling.
And with rhetoric that continues to disguise this reality behind benign phrases, public awareness is crucial. People have to speak up and demand accountability.
Definitely. When you analyze it, every piece of this narrative, from skyrocketing fees to delayed visas, tells a story not of safety and order, but of systemic exclusion.
Exactly. And in the end, It's about rewriting the American dream to only include those who already have the privilege, rather than being a true, open, inclusive promise.
Right. It's a cautionary tale of how words can be turned into policies that, if left unchecked, fundamentally undermine the very
Yes,
ideals they
indeed.
claim to support.
So, it's a wake-up call for policymakers and the public alike to demand transparency, fairness, and equality in immigration, so that legal isn't just about privilege, but about genuine opportunity for those who follow the rules.
Exactly. Let's hope that by shedding light on these practices and critically questioning the narratives, we can slowly shift towards a system truly built on fairness.
Absolutely, here's to that change.